Intelligent Ramblings with your host, Bill Alton. Co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington with help from John Coleman.
Well, here we are on Intelligent Ramblings, week number 22, I think. Guys, we've been doing this 22 times. That's pretty awesome.
Last day of January.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Is it? Yeah, last day of January. We're about through this winter. We got about a month and a half of winter left. Everybody's week going good so far? Any weirdness going on?
Yeah.
So far.
It's good.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay, well, let's talk about not so good. This kind of angers me a lot. Not kinda. 3 U.S. troops killed in Jordan by Iranian-backed militia. It's the third attack since November. 40 injured. 8 were actually sent to the hospital to add on to the 3 that were killed. And the 3 troops were from a reserve outfit out of Georgia. So all 3 of them from Georgia. And I'm pissed off. I don't know about y'all, but I know exactly what I would do to them. Biden says he's already decided that they will reciprocate. How do you guys think they should respond to this?
Blow Iran off the map.
They're not going to hit Iran. They've already said that they don't want to start a war and they don't want to widen it. But I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I mean, just obliterate Iran.
My son-in-law was stationed at that place in Jordan.
Wow.
2 years ago. But he flies fighters.
Wow, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do, but I do know that those guys that sent that drone into that base, they can run, but they can't hide.
So I think we're all for an agreement. Gary, you're the only one that didn't say anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting to see what he's going to do. I mean, he's got, and he's wise right now not to tip his hand, because if you say, well, we're going to do this or we're going to do that, no, you got to keep them guessing and then hit them hard with a surprise. And I think he'll hit them hard, and they need to be hit. They need to be hit hard.
Well, they've said they've made sure that we're not letting them know when we're going to do it. They said we're going to do it on our own time, and we're going to do what we want to do, but we're going to do something. So I hope it's something drastic. I think Yemen ought to be. I think we ought to obliterate it to the point that we could just walk in there and start drilling for oil. If they want to drill for oil, let's just rename Yemen Texaco and just take it. If they don't like it, we'll blow their ass up too. This is ridiculous. They have no rights to be hitting our ships or anybody else's. They don't agree with Iran and what's going on in Israel right now. Well, they ought to go to Israel and fight, but not be a coward and take pot shots at ships that are going down the road. It affects everybody.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I'm a little tired of these shithole countries that think they're too big for their britches. I think I'm tired of that. To tell you the truth.
Well, I agree with you.
They think there's something and they're not.
They got 12 missiles, so they think they can just launch it at anybody they want to, whenever they want to.
Yeah, but that's all they got. and they think they're something because of that, and they're not. Well, we got 3 dead soldiers now, and who are looking forward, and they're all young folks, looking forward to a full life. Now they're not.
Yep. Well,
I think it all needs to be long-range stuff. We've talked about his son-in-law flying fighters. We need to do that kind of thing. Put the put our long-range guns on the ships offshore and let them have it. You just, and I'm, you know me. You guys have been around me all my life, basically. I'm not a violent person at all. But come on, just quit.
Well, you can
people
push.
need to quit this.
You
And
can
if you
push
don't
so
quit,
much.
yeah. If you don't quit, we'll make you quit. People can be made to do the right thing, whether they want to or not. That's
Absolutely
that's just my
agree.
2 cents.
William, other than just send them back to the 12th
Stone
century,
Age.
Stone Age, what are your comments?
Well, we need to figure out where that drone came from, sure enough, and use a missile that's pretty accurate and try to take them out. But I don't know if they can figure out where the drone came from.
I don't think we need to worry about it being accurate. I think we need to send about 10 missiles and get that and everything that's around them.
No, Bill, you said
I'm tired of these guys.
Bomb them back to the 12th century. Hey, man, they're already living in the 12th century. Problem is, they want all of us to live with them in the 12th century.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Come on, the women have no rights at all. They're treated like property. There wasn't too many years ago that it was a big deal for a woman in Saudi Arabia to have a driver's license. They didn't want that. I mean,
Saudi Arabia is pretty progressive.
Exactly. But because of what's happened in the last couple of years, they've gotten more progressive. And they're more sensitive to what the world thinks about that. These people they don't care what anybody else thinks. They think
Not in
they're
Iran,
on
they don't.
they think they're on a religious crusade, and that Allah, which is just simply another name for God, it's Arabic for God, that God is patting them on the head saying, "You go, guys. I'm sorry, that's not the kind of God that I worship."
That's for sure.
While we got a pause in the action here, I wanted to make sure I thank the folks that watch us after the broadcast is over, and that makes a lot of difference, and we appreciate you watching. We're here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., but every episode will be on YouTube and on Facebook.
Yeah, so you can watch it at your leisure.
Watch it as your leisure. Well, Israeli commandos stormed a hospital dressed like a patient, a doctor, and a woman. They even had a wheelchair. Is that a war crime?
Technically, they are undercover, so technically, yeah, it would be. You're supposed to.
I don't know. I think everything's fair over there.
Well, that's what I just said. I just said technically.
Technically. Well, you got to look at Hamas. Ain't none of them dressed in uniform. I mean, how can you say that's a war crime if the thousands that you're fighting against are all doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's right, and you can't say one set of rules applies to one side and doesn't apply to the other. Everybody got to be playing by the same rules. We all play ball, and I'm not going to play. Somebody said, "Well, when you score a touchdown, you get 15 points. We only get 6." You can't play like that. Tell me your rules and I can play your game. Just don't go changing the rules on me in the middle of the game. And these people have no respect at all for any kind of rules. The rule of law, the rule of government.
Yep, they don't. I mean, I don't.
I'm just. My heart feels for all the people who are caught up in all this. It's got nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they say now the total's up to 26,000 that have been killed during this foray. But then on the other end, you got to look at the fact that 12 UN aid workers took part in the Hamas invasion. So let's go out and kill, rape, and maim, and then we'll go back and sit on the line and feed them. That's beyond.
I just do not understand that. How were those people even involved in that raid? Golly, what were they thinking?
They were talking
Yeah, I
about
don't-
a
I don't
college
get that
professor. There was that's the only one I really remember. Tell you the truth,
Where were they from?
they were Palestinian.
Okay. Well, that answers that.
It is a mess over there for sure. They need a ceasefire to
And
like
it's
break
not
it up
gonna
and
get-
try to find a new solution.
Well, the U.S. I got to remember the countries: Egypt, Qatar, and Israel have agreed on something, a ceasefire that would last 60 days, and then there would be this mass transfer of prisoners. They let out some Israelis hostages. They let out some Palestinians. Then they let out all the hostages, and then they let out all the Palestinians in jail in Israel. And then they, at that point, once the hostages are all released, they've got whatever many days left, and then they start again if they still want to. But it gives it 60 days. And U.S., Egypt, Qatar, I think it is, and Qatar, maybe it is. There were 4 nations. I don't remember the fourth one. But that agreement's all been nailed out, and Israel's agreeing to it, and it's all up to Hamas at this point. So
Well, that's a
who the
start.
hell knows? When Hamas agrees to the terms, that's when then this will start.
Well, I don't know if they'll agree to it or not. They might.
Well, articles of impeachment have been levied against Alejandro Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, Secretary Mayorkas is a key figure to border negotiations for the Border Security Act, which allows for 5,000 a day to come across. That's another thought. But they're wanting to impeach the guy while they're in negotiations. They're saying he's doing nothing, but he's in negotiations. Now, one fact I will bring up that will shock the monkey is, do you know how many immigrants have come into this country since Biden took office?
Millions.
8.6 million. Let that resonate with you. 8.6 million since Biden's been in office. Now, I was trying to research it and see what I could find when Trump was there, when Obama was there, when even all the way back to Clinton, but I can't find the numbers. Maybe our statistician, Mr. John Cone, can do that for us. But 8.6 million.
That's like the whole population of Georgia, just about.
Have come in since Biden. Now, do you think that is stretching our resources or not?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's stretching them big time.
And could you imagine living in South Texas or Arizona or even Louisiana?
I don't know if they're staying there or not. I think they're headed north.
Well, Texas already speaks, about half of it speaks Spanish already, so you can't hardly live there unless you speak Spanish.
And
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with it, but the problem is you need to establish yourself as an American. If you're in our country,
Roosevelt said that.
be an American. If you're not, get the hell out.
Teddy Roosevelt said that a long time ago, and I agree. I kind of like Teddy Roosevelt, a lot of things he said. But he said much the same thing. You know, when you come to the country, assimilate within the country, and be willing to do that. The problem that we're having now is, and I have no problem with people retaining elements of their culture. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's okay. No problem with that. No problem with that. With the customs but don't make yourself a nation within a nation. That's a recipe for disaster. You're coming to the country. Be willing to obey the laws of the country. Learn to speak English. Although, which by the way, is the world's most spoken language now. Anyway, did you know that?
Yeah.
English is the most spoken language in the world. Second is Mandarin Chinese. Third is like Hindi from India, and fourth is Spanish. So, learn to speak English. If I were living in a country, I think I'd learn to speak the language.
Well, the Spanish speakers have even out-populated the African American population. African Americans are only about 10%, and the Spanish speakers are more than that.
Oh yeah.
So Bill was asking for some numbers a moment ago, and this is total number of immigrants, not just those coming across the border from Mexico. From 1940 to 1960, the numbers went down to a low point in 1970. There were about 9.6 million immigrants, total immigrants the whole year, 9.6 million. Where we
That's
at
a lot.
In 2022, well, that's total from every country. The total number of immigrants last year was 46.1 million immigrants. And that's from everywhere, not just across the border. That's coming from all over the world.
Well, that's too many. We got to do something about that. I saw a sign on the back of a car the other day that says, "Calm down, gringo, I'm legal."
Well, so William raises a good point. What is a good level of immigration, and how many people should we let in? Should we qualify them and let in the smart people, the professional people, the well-educated people? Let them in first. Hey, Andrea, thanks for your comment. And so anyway.
Yeah, I think we ought to at least weed out the ones that are, bad. I think we ought to take the ones that are good, the physicians, professors, teachers.
Well, not that it wasn't needed, but we've had billions of dollars that we've sent to Ukraine, and billions of dollars we're sending to Israel. If we got that kind of money that we could have been spending on something, why the hell have we been spending on immigration? Billions. How many billions have we sent to Ukraine this year?
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to something we discussed on a previous show weeks ago.
I agree. I
Why
agree with
are they coming here?
Because we give them free stuff.
Well, we don't just give them free stuff. We give them jobs.
It's so much better than where they're coming from. It's not just free stuff.
Right.
Their whole lives are better. They're secure. They're not being shot at. They're not being robbed.
Unless you live in Los Angeles.
Well, you probably could say that about, pick your spot. But all things, being equal, this country is a way better place to be in than, say, El Salvador, Guatemala,
Venezuela.
But other countries around the world, other free republics, I'd like to see how many immigrants go to Canada. No, they got
not very many
like we got here. And because the Canadians are not holding jobs out there, the American companies are giving immigrants jobs. That's why they're coming here. If there was no work, they might come and for a little while get some of that free stuff, when the free stuff runs out, they'll go back home if they don't have any place to work. But they have places to work. And you know what? They're willing to work. They're willing to do dirty jobs. They're willing to do jobs that Americans just don't want to do anymore.
Well, what are those
And they'll
Americans
work till
do?
dark. What do you mean, Louis? What are you talking about?
Well, you said
Well,
the
the
Americans
Americans
aren't willing to do the
they-
work. What are they doing to live?
Well, they're not doing those jobs. They're doing other jobs.
Better
More
jobs?
white collar jobs, more
The better jobs.
better jobs, more
Well,
tech.
that's good.
They're not
jobs.
working in the chicken plants. Go down to Chicken Plant City there in Gainesville and look and see how many
Hispanic?
Hispanic people you have working in the chicken plants. When I worked in the
Chicken
chicken
plants.
plants in Gainesville, I worked to get chicken at Fieldale. And believe me, there was, maybe 2% Hispanic. Rest is a bunch of old white people like me. And now if you go into a chicken plant in Gainesville, poultry capital of the world, quote unquote, it's about 95% Hispanic. They've taken those.
Well,
that's the
look.
jobs that Gary's talking about.
That old white folks don't want to do anymore. Let me tell you something. 20 or 25 years ago, I was on in the upper part of the state, northwest Georgia, and on the interstate, there were billboards in Spanish 20 years ago advertising jobs in the carpet mills because they couldn't find Americans 20, 25 years ago, Americans, to do those jobs. Society is like nature. It abhors a vacuum. And if there is a vacuum in terms of employment, like chicken plants, carpet mills, migrant field workers picking fruit, something will come in to fill that vacuum. And we've seen that's what's happened.
And in say Venezuela, they're in the job. There's no factory jobs. There's no chicken plant jobs. There's no fruit picking jobs. It's there's nothing there. And
Venezuela used to be the top. They used to be the third largest economy in the world 35 years ago. But now they're nothing.
That's right, because the
Because
government
they're political.
is corrupt.
Yeah.
When I was in South America, I was coming back from one of my weightlifting meets down there, and I met this very distinguished gentleman. I had already talked about this with one of my drivers down there that was driving us around. This was in Argentina, and he was coming from Argentina, and he was flying up to Florida. He and his wife were taking their granddaughter to Disney World, and he told me that he perfected a good bit of his English by watching things like CNN. And he said, "I was watching your presidential debates the other night. I wish we could do something like that in my country. I'm ashamed of my country." And the reason he was ashamed of his country is because everybody in office was corrupt and was bilking the government to fund their own funds, fund their own bank accounts. And that's another part of the reason why people want to come here. They feel relatively safe. They're not being hunted or gunned down by some drug cartel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem in other parts of the world, but the main thing is because they're coming in to fill a niche or several niches in the American economy that are not being filled by the workers that are here now. If there were no jobs, they wouldn't be coming. But American businesses employ these people, and that's why they're here. The other day, Jill and I had, Bill, you remember that big pine tree down at the edge of my yard there?
Yep.
Well, they came out. It was a Latino crew that came out, and they had that thing. It was starting to lean. We were afraid it was going to fall on the neighbor's house. So Jill wanted to have it taken down. So she called one of her friends, and he came out here, and he got the word out, and the Latino crew came out here, and they had that thing down and cleaned up within an hour. And it was a complicated job, too. They took it down safely and cleaned it up, raked, and they were gone, down and gone in an hour. Those are the kind of jobs that attract immigrants. Now, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see a whole bunch of old white people climbing around that pine tree.
No, I had 7 of them cut down about 2 weeks ago, and the foreman was white. He didn't do anything, but all the rest of them were Hispanics. I don't know where they were from,
That's right.
but
No, they come from Mexico. They come from Venezuela. They come from Central America. They come from all over the place.
guy that cleaned out my
They're doing
gutter.
jobs. Yeah, they're doing jobs
Hispanic.
Americans don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
So if
I don't want to clean out a gutter.
If you want if you want immigrants to quit coming, okay, then so we got to find somebody to work in those chicken plants, those carpet mills. Got to find somebody to pick the fruit. Got to find somebody to go out in the fields and get the grain and the vegetables and all that kind of stuff in. Otherwise, we're going to be going hungry.
Absolutely.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
but don't we have enough?
that we
don't we have
need
enough? Can we cut it off? I mean, how many is too many? Or not enough, or too?
Well, you got to
or
figure it's
not?
kind of an
Well, see,
attrition.
they're-
How many people are dying every year in the United States, and basically they're being replaced by the immigrants. Yeah,
I don't think that many's dying.
You'd be surprised.
Well,
how
no.
many's dying, John? Look it up.
There's a lot of boomers out there dying, and so the I'll look for this, but we are barely keeping up population-wise. If you
Zero population
Yeah.
growth is what you're saying.
Yeah, if it weren't for immigrants,
Well,
our
and-
population would be declining a lot because we're not. We're having 1 to 2 kids per family, and so
or none.
Or none, yeah.
yeah, or none, and so we need them.
And the baby
we-
boomers are
Well,
now getting old. We're all baby boomers.
Right,
Yeah,
right, and
You know,
we're not producing children anymore. And there
would-
was a book
we're
out
dying off.
John,
Well, I can
Well,
volunteer
yeah,
to
John,
produce children if that's
you
needed.
may be able to look this up. I think there was a book written called "The Death of the West." They're talking exactly like that, like first world countries. First world countries have quit having babies because the people that are coming along don't want to bother with children. They either have one or none.
I think about
And
my
so-
senior class, and all the smart
Yeah.
ones didn't even get married, much less have kids.
Right. So there's a real problem with that. The people that need to be having children are the smart ones and the ones that have the wherewithal to take care of them, and they just quit.
Yeah, they didn't even
So
try.
it's a multi-tiered problem that we need somebody to get in there and start fixing them. Well, Kenny's right.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree
we
with
need to-
Kenny.
what did
We
he
should
say?
be able
We
to
need-
limit the flow.
Yeah, it is not rocket science, but all the administrations over the last 30 years, I'm talking about not just Democrats, but Democrats, Republicans, and anybody else you want to throw in there, administrations and the Congress and legislature have kicked that can down the road. Guess what?
Yeah.
We're at the end of the road now. There's no kicking it down. Somebody's got to have the
Trump
guts
tried to
to
stop
get
it.
in there. Well, he wanted to build a wall.
Well,
and
a
that's part of
wall.
the solution. But the wall, people go over walls or go around walls or go under walls. You've got to have a comprehensive thing that encompasses the
Yeah.
country, not just the border. People can get around borders, but if you've got something in place that's got some teeth in it, but that's not it. We haven't done that, and that's a problem. But if we elect people that want to solve that, the next thing you know, they're accused of being this or accused of being that, and they get kicked out or impeached or something.
Yeah.
Yep. They're like they're trying to impeach the
Come on.
Alejandro
Well, they tried to
Mayorkas.
impeach. Well, they tried to impeach. They tried to impeach Clinton. They tried to impeach Trump. Somebody doesn't like something, they think they can just go ahead and say, "Well, we'll just impeach it." Well, come on.
Which does virtually
Well,
nothing.
What? Yeah, exactly. It's a waste of time. What do you want? What do you want? You know, sometimes we get the stuff we deserve because we don't have the guts to stand up and say something against. You know, there's going to have to be some hard choices.
Well, they
Not
tried to
everybody's
stand up
gonna
to
be
it
happy.
with January the 6th, but they all got arrested and put in jail.
As they should have.
That was
And well, they should
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, come on, that was.
Well, how you going to stand
that
up?
was
I mean, what do you got to do?
Well, you don't go
Well,
breaking into the damn
Yeah,
White House.
two wrongs don't make a right.
Capitol.
It's just that simple.
No,
That's right.
absolutely
You shouldn't be
think
doing
it
that.
was-
The rule of law needs to be established and respected. Well, I don't want any of those people working for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you think about the American Revolution. What did we do? I mean, we broke the law. All
You
the
think a
founding
revolution's
fathers.
what we need? You think a revolution's what we need now?
I think we're going to have one.
And we're going to have the Democrats fighting the Republicans?
I don't think so. I think they'll join forces. It may start out that way, but
Well, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she was worried about Civil War or whatnot, about between us, the Republicans and the Democrats and whatnot, starting a Civil War. And I said, honey, that ain't gonna happen. I said, if a war starts and somebody attacks this country, then the Republicans and Democrats will go like that. They're Americans. That's one thing that we all know, we all believe in, is that we're Americans. And I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, you're still an American, and we'll come together at times of need.
Well, I certainly hope that'll be Trump and everybody else's desires and wants. That I just want people to unite for the good of the country and speak for me and you. No, right now nobody speaks for me and you. They speak for the far right or the far left, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it gets all the publicity and all. It's
the extremists on both sides, and I equate extremists to these Republicans and these Democrats that are on the far left and right, and those people are terrorists. It's like that Democratic senator up in I'm not sure even where she's from, Ohio or whatever, but she's always dogging the United States. But she's a congressperson, and you got some of these guys that are just downright.
Well, those ones from New York.
Maybe it's New York.
Yeah, New York, AOC and what's her name? I can't even think. Mine's going old. I know AOC.
Well,
Ocasio.
on a better subject, Neuralink and Elon Musk company has successfully tested a brain chip. Put it inside your head. What it does, it helps with paralysis victims. It interprets neural activity to operate a computer or a smartphone by thinking. You can sit there and think about it. I saw an example of it. This woman who had lost her voice to some disease or whatnot, and her husband said, "I'm thinking about going to the store. Do you need anything?" And she just sat there in this wheelchair, and it came on the TV. She said, "When are you going to be back?"
Huh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jetsons.
We're getting real close to the $6 million man, aren't we, huh?
Yeah.
That's coming. They've
that's a miracle
already
that's
got
happening.
some degree of that. And
Well-
what it'll do is it'll reroute some of the stuff and the neural pathways and so forth, the things that were paralyzed, and may wake them back up. In a way
They actually tested it.
Through the
They
brain
tested
and the
it this
network.
week.
Well, like Stephen Hawking, he could talk by looking at the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He couldn't talk.
Well, it's
they're
coming.
They're going to be able to restore some degrees of feeling and to people that are paralyzed or maybe even had limbs amputated. They'll be able to connect those nerve endings with this kind of technology to artificial limbs that give some feeling of sensation. That's coming. That $6 million man stuff. That's not going to be science fiction. Now we may not live to see it, but they're also going to be able to start cloning stuff too and replacing parts with that. They can already do some of that. It's considered experimental, but for example, I really wish I could have more cartilage in my knees because I don't have much. I don't have any in my right knee. And sooner or later, they're going to be able to replace that with cartilage that will grow from your cells. And there'll be no rejection problems because it'll be you.
That'd
Some
be
people
something.
think that's playing God. Some people say that's playing God, but I think that God gives you the ability and the will and the intelligence to do that sort of thing. And we ought to do it.
Absolutely.
Our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren may be seeing some of that. Already, we've made such tremendous strides in prosthetics and things like that. I mean, I've got basically artificial lenses in my eyes now after cataract surgery.
You got artificial hips.
Did a long time ago. I got
You don't have
artificial
any hips.
Oh, I'm the bionic man. I got more metal in me than the Starship Enterprise. My joking is that I wanted one of those eyes like Steve Austin had. No, but the insurance wouldn't pay for it. Oh, when I die, they won't cremate me or embalm me. They'll just recycle.
There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I think that would be a good time for us to go to our next portion of our show. And here we go.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's my time to talk now. And for tonight's bit on my timeout, I made me a list. Things that puzzle me. One thing that puzzles me are roads with no place to pass and no passing lanes, like between my house and Buford on McKever Road, which also includes stoplights, sometimes several stoplights at major intersections, with no left turn arrows. What's up with that? That should never happen because people just stack up behind those people when they're waiting to turn left, but they can't turn left because the traffic is too much. Also, another thing that puzzles me, blinkers, also known as turn signals. Why don't people use them? They just suddenly turn off in front of you. And you had no idea that they're going to turn. Hey, I'm telling you, folks, they got these marvelous things. It's usually on the side of the steering column. And you can push it up or you can push it down. And it will let the people behind and in front of you know what you're going to do. Also, another thing that puzzles me is why people ride along in the rain, in the dark, and don't turn their lights on. Are they trying to beat sundown somewhere? Let me see if I can make it home, Clarice, without turning on my lights. Think I'd do that? Another thing that puzzles me is our current fascination with roundabouts. You've seen, roundabouts, the circle turns, the turn islands, things like that. And they cost a lot of money. And basically, don't they do the same thing as a four-way stop? I guess you have to be smart enough to know how a four-way stop works, but that's a whole different problem. And if we're running out of money for Social Security and the population continues to decline, why are we building so many apartments, houses, condos, and schools? Won't those people, if they live in those, won't they be paying into Social Security? And why is there a 30 to 40 cents a gallon difference in the price of gas within places that are only a couple of miles from each other? You've seen it. I know you have. I see it all the time. That puzzles me. And another thing that puzzles me, why can't we all just get along? We got a whole lot more in common than we do different. And that's my time out. I'm thanking you for yours. I'm Gary Glenn.
This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Gary. I'm puzzled by that stuff too, especially the turn signal thing. I just don't get that. Okay, so every week there's information out there about our economy. A little information is a good thing. So tonight we're going to talk about 3 pieces of information from last week and this week. The 3 things we're going to talk about are GDP, the PCE, which is personal consumption expenditures, and the Fed funds rate. GDP is a measure of the total economy. It's growing at about 2.5%. PCE, or personal consumption expenditure, grew last year at about 2.9%. The Fed watches that very closely because it tells them a lot about the inflation rate. And all these things are numbers that are available to everybody. They're very accessible, but they're just numbers, which raises the question, who really cares? Well, I think we all should care a little bit, and I'm going to show why these 3 bits of information are important to all of us, not just pointy-headed academic types. They're, like I said, they're accessible and useful for everyone. Okay, GDP, or gross domestic product, is the total value of our economy. If you want to know if our economy is growing or slowing, GDP will tell you. The rate of change in GDP will tell you if we're expanding or if our economy is contracting. So why is this good information for us? Say you're a restaurant owner and you want to add a catering truck to your business. Is this a good time to do it? Well, the growth rate of GDP will help you decide, and it's something that's published monthly and updated all year long. PCE, personal consumption expenditures, is basically the total spending by consumers in our economy. And the Fed tracks this as an inflation number very carefully. If you want to know if inflation is getting better or worse, PCE will help you. PCE will tell you, are prices going up fast or slow? Should I buy a car now, or should I wait until later? While we're at it, at this point, I'm getting close, but let's talk about inflation. This graph, if you look at the graph, that little tail right there, all the way to the right of the graph is where we are. And we have come down. That peak right there that you can see is June 2022. Our inflation rate was 9.1%, and now it's at 2.9%, which is getting into the range that the Fed wants. So good news on the inflation front. I just wanted to bring that out. Okay, that's it. I'm saving the Fed funds rate for later. It's important, but it didn't change during the Federal Open Market Committee meeting this week. So with that, I'm out.
All right, we have sort of an off week this week, but man, it was a good week last week. In the NFL, in the National Football Conference, we had a great game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions. 49ers, of course, won 34-31. The Lions scored late and tried an onside kick but didn't get it. and the 49ers just ran out the clock by running a few plays. So that's one member that'll be in the Super Bowl, the 49ers. In the AFC, another great game. The number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens, lost 17-10 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you like Taylor Swift, and who doesn't, you get to watch her next week in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 58 will be Sunday, February the 11th at 6:30 p.m. And it'll be the 49ers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs will be the home team. So I'm looking forward to that, and start making your bets right now. You've got a week and 4 days to get ready. Get your cookies and whatever, wings. All right, now in the NBA, in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics are 37-11 and are 4.5 games ahead of the second place Milwaukee Bucks, who are 32-15. Our poor Atlanta Hawks are in 10th at 20-27. So they don't look like they're going to make it in the playoffs, but you never know. They might come on strong here late. In the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves at 33-14 are half a game ahead of the Denver Nuggets at 33-15, who are 1 game ahead of the Oklahoma City Thunder, 32-15, and the Timberwolves are 2 games ahead of the Los Angeles Clippers at 30-15. The Los Angeles Lakers, who I know everybody wants to keep up with them with LeBron James, they're in 9th place at 24-25, 10 games back. So if you're an NBA fan, there you go with some of the standings. In college basketball, on the men's side, number 1 is UConn with a record of 18-2. That's the University of Connecticut. And second is Purdue at 19-2, the Boilermakers. And third is the University of North Carolina, 17-4, but they lost to Georgia Tech this week. I guess it was yesterday. My days all go together. Fourth place is Houston at 19-2, and in fifth is Tennessee with 15-5, but they lost at home to South Carolina. And in the women's side, South Carolina is 19-0. They had a big win last week over LSU. That was a heck of a game if you didn't watch that one. The women are pretty exciting when you watch them. Kansas State is the second-ranked team at 20-1, and Iowa with Caitlin Clark is 19-2, and they're ranked third. And that's all I got for sports. I'm about up with my 3 minutes. You get your chicken crow. Good night.
Well, looks like webcam utilities next. For some reason, my camera decided to turn itself off, but I'm still with you. Yep. Anyway, you look at it. The weather's not that bad right now. It looks pretty clear all the way across the country, except we got something coming in from the west that's going to be nasty here soon. So we'll just have to wait for it. And on the not side, be nice. It's not that easy a thing. If you're in a bad mood, you're having a bad day, just deal with it. If you walk up and you see somebody, say your neighbor's outside, and you drive past them and you wave and they don't even wave back, you don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what's going on with anybody. Might have had a horrible day at work. Maybe I got fired. And that's why he's not waving to you. Not because he's a jerk or anything, just because he doesn't feel like waving. So be nice. That's one of my top 3 rules in my life, is to be nice. It's hard sometimes, but if you can't be nice, shut the hell up. Anyway, we'll be right back in a minute. And hopefully we'll have a conclusion to the rest. I hope everybody heard me.
All right. We got webcam utility.
Hey, Bill,
I'm
we
the web-
heard you. We just couldn't see you.
Well, I was kind of counting on that. I don't know why my video went out, but it's one of those things that you can't determine sometimes. And so just call me Old Web, or you can call me Cam. It doesn't matter. But going back to some comments that we missed, Kenny said it won't happen again because the opposing parties are not territorial. I absolutely agree with that. I've got neighbors that are next door to me that is about as far right as they get, and if it came down to it, I know that he and I would be on the same side, no doubt about it.
Well, we tried that Civil War thing one time. It didn't work out.
Absolutely agree with
Yeah,
that.
let
Gary.
that be a learn.
Yeah.
If we could bottle
Lesson
what we
learned.
had after September 11th, we'd be in good shape. Everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, very true.
And
Andrea agrees with me about the roundabouts, the traffic circles. Yeah. But you just got to be smart enough to know that the guy on your right has the right of way when you pull to a four-way stop if he got there first. If you get there first, you got the right of way. I mean, it's not
Gets
that
at the
hard.
same time, he's got the right of way.
Yeah,
Here's Bill.
exactly right. You get there at the same time. Yeah.
well, I guess that's why my camera wanted to go off when it did, because it wanted me to be standing up so I could advertise this shirt I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
There you go.
That was it. Okay, Intelligent Ramblings, the logo. I'm so smart. I have Intelligent Ramblings. Makes sense to me. You can find that.
Me too.
Andrea said
Hey.
they were good NFL
Yeah,
games
hey.
with sad outcomes. I assume she's a Raven and Lions fan. I was kind of pulling for the Lions myself, but I wanted to see Kansas City win because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, Gilda wanted to see that too. And the 49ers got a bunch of Georgia guys on there. 3 Georgia guys that are playing for them. Plus, I like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
But there's 5 Georgia
Kenny
guys.
says who we
Super
pulling
Bowl.
for in the Super
Let's
I don't
see.
really have a dog. I don't have a dog in the fight. I mean, either way, I'm sort of leaning toward the 49ers because of the Georgia guys. And as I said, I like Christian McCaffrey.
Well,
You know, I mean, I
Kansas
think
Me
he's
too,
a
for
good
the
player.
same reason here.
What's
Well,
that?
I'd like to see the 49ers win because, like McCafferty, I like him a lot, and I think he's an amazing athlete. And I like Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft the year he came out of college. He was the last pick.
Mr. Irrelevant, they call it. Yeah.
And so that kind of tells you what he's about. He's really had to work for what he's got, and I think that's great. But I'm gonna tell you what, Patrick Mahomes he's magical.
oh yeah.
He is really, really, really good, and
He
he's
can
hard to
play,
beat.
And I'm gonna tell you talked about Taylor, but her boyfriend's a pretty damn good football player. Kelsey
Yeah, Travis
got an
Kelce.
all-time record now for receptions in the postseason.
Well,
Yeah.
if you get the ball near him, he's gonna reach up and snag it. He
Broke Jerry Rice's
nobody.
record.
Oh wow.
All-time
Yeah, broke Jerry.
all-time playoff
Yeah.
receptions.
Plus, he's a good blocker. He can get it done on that side. Hey guys,
you got-
before we leave tonight, I want to do one thing. I want to say congratulations and happy retirement to the nation's best sports information director, Claude Felton of the University of Georgia. Anybody that's ever been around Claude has been the beneficiary of his knowledge, his expertise, his kindness, just a general good guy and great at his job. He's had the title of assistant and associate athletic director, blah, blah, blah. It's sports information director, par excellence, bar none, the best in the country. Look at what, a lot of times this stuff that Georgia gets noticed for, Claude puts it out there, he and his staff. And of course, you surround yourself with good people and let them do their thing. And Claude's been great with all that. I think his last day on the job was today.
Awesomeness.
So, Claude,
What about that?
God bless you, brother. Have a great retirement. You deserve it.
Yeah, good man.
Well, I want to thank everybody that tuned in with us, and I want to thank people that tune in after we're no longer live and catch us. And I hope everybody has a great week. And I guess we see you guys in a week.
All right.
Everybody have a great week.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bum, 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 bum. Guess I should have looked for this.